Hi everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe. People of Earth, welcome to part 2 of Build, the 1350 Polar Lights Enterprise, the refit version from the 1978 movie Star Trek The Motion Picture. Now, if you're just joining me, welcome. But there is a part 1, and I highly recommend you go back and start at the beginning. Otherwise, I could be confusing the absolute, whatever out of you. So, and I don't want to do that. But diving in, because I don't want to be long-winded about all of this. I just want to try to chronicle this build and let you know what's going on, how I'm doing, how I'm progressing, any challenges that I've come up against, how many times I've gone fetal in the corner of the studio. Only once, and I'll explain why in just a minute. Workflow, right? There's so much going on, and there's so much to do if you're going to light the kit. If you're not going to light the kit, knock yourself out, follow the instructions, paint it, put it on its stand. It's going to be beautiful. I want you to do that if you're not going to do anything else. But for those of us foolish enough to attempt this, such as myself, you kind of got to stay focused. So let me tell you what has happened since last we hooked up. I am now working on the top of the saucer. Now I've started here. I know a lot of people start with the Arboretum and they start with the Officer's Lounge, and they put a whole bunch of stuff in all of those things. But I chose to start with the saucer because there's a lot to do. Now, a couple of things I did do is what I did was I ground down these two laser, the lasers on the front of the ship. I ground those down, and I picked up from Shapeways some smaller, more accurate versions of that. Here they are, and they'll get a microfiber optical, a piece of fiber optics in there. Wow. Struggling again to figure out the words, but a little bit of fiber optic will go in those, and they'll drop into these, and you'll get that pinpoint of pulsing light from my lighting kit. So that should be pretty good. So that's all done. I have put in the window to the Officer's Lounge. It's all sanded and cleaned up and ready to go. So what I've got to do now is I've got to start thinking about some windows, because I've got to get my windows in, but I've also got to get this thing lit. However, the beauty of this, this window kit that I bought is all of the laser cut pieces that go into the windows. First of all, the shapes are beautiful. They're perfect. And they've been laser cut, right? But the protective paper, so that you don't scratch the acrylic, is still on. Makes a perfect mask. Now, I've got the great Lou Del Maso's masking set, so I will be putting that over this window, because I have to remove the backing from this particular piece of glass, because it's behind the photo edge. So that is a bit of a snag, but we'll get through it. But I have to install that, and I have to install the rest of the windows before I can close this thing up, obviously. But I wanted to tell you that every one of these windows, even the small little plugs for all the individual windows, have that backing on them. So I don't have to mask them. And they're really flush to the model. So that's really good. If I have to make those holes a little wider, I'm just using just a little round file, and I'm just doing it carefully, carefully, carefully. But I'll get all those windows in, and that'll be good. Then what we'll do is we will put in this the top part of the saucer part of the lighting kit. Now there's two parts. There's this bundle here that has this plastic tab. So you can't go wrong. It sits in there and we'll glue that down. Now once that's glued down, I can start tacking down all of my lights where they need to go. But I can't, I can't finish obviously, because I've got some things to do here. I've got the rec deck to go in here. And I've also got to put in the actual piece of the officers' lounge, which will sit up there. So all of that has to go in. But what I also have done is I've added fiber optics to the thrusters unit. So these are the yellow thruster units, so that I could add pinpoint accuracy to the holes. And so wherever I am going to put a thruster, I'm going to let me see here, because I'm not helping you, am I? Here's one right here. So what you'll notice is, let me turn this around, get you closer. What you'll notice here is, and I'll point this out, we've got these little indents here. Ooh, you don't want to focus, do you? Let me go back there. You've got one there, and you've got one that's open here, right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed all of my fiber optics in here, bend these up and down, and I should have perfect pinpoint light for my thrusters. And so that'll be good. And I do have a light for the officers' lounge, so that will be good too. I'm going to follow the instructions and just start to lay down my lighting kit, and I'll get all the windows in, and I will position the impulse engines. I've got no stand for those yet. Here I've made a mark for where my impulse engine lights need to park, but I have not. I haven't obviously glued that in yet. That's got to be painted, but it doesn't go on the inside of this. It actually sits on the outside of this. And sits flush against here, so I should be fine. And I'll glue those down, and then obviously for my crystal, I have got another light too, and I'm going to need to create a little box for that, and I'll do that just out of plastic. So that should be good to go. And then I can, once I've got my lighting kit in, I can install all of my windows, my rec deck, and everything else. So you can see there's an awful lot of details and minutia, which is why this takes an awful long time. And you kind of got to make sure that, as you're sort of going through the motions, that you follow a procedure that allows you to do things seamlessly. And I've been having a little bit of a difficult time remembering to make sure to write everything down, which I've been doing, and making sure that I don't get ahead of myself, so that everything I need to do, I can do. I started to install these windows, and then I realized I've got to get my lights in there, and some of those are fiber optic. So I've had to actually break into the plastic more than I wanted to make sure that I've got room to put those fiber optics in. They are behaving very nicely. They're bending very well. So that's a good thing. So just an instant flash of heat, and they'll bend, and then I can sit those in nicely, especially the thrusters, because you've got an up and a down. So I've got to do the same to the bottom saucer as I'm doing to the top saucer. Okay, that was a shopping cart full of information. I apologize, but I'm literally verbally spewing all my subtext out to you of what I'm thinking about, right? And I've got to get it all together. No seriously major problems yet. No seriously major problems yet. At the moment, I'm okay. For my lights, though, like the two rear white lights, and I've got two rear whites, and I've got a strobe. Actually, I don't have a strobe. That's on top. I apologize. I've just got three white nav lights. So what I've done is I have found what is a 1 mil fiber optic, and I've put that into these holes. I'm not drilling these holes out to try and get any kind of an LED in there. I'm going to use fiber optics on everything where I can. And I did that also here. I've got one here, and well, that's the rear. And actually, these are the two rear. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm delirious. These are the two rear. And so what I'll do is I'll connect my bulb to a little bit of electrical shrink wrap, and these are all ready to go, and I'll get a lovely pinpoint of light there. So that's what I've been trying to do with all of the lights. I'm trying to, where I can't put in the bulb. Now the nav bulbs themselves, which come with this, fit the openings for the green and red nav lights perfectly. And I think they call these lighthouses, little lighthouses or top hats, depending on where you are in the world. So those are pretty good, and they fit these holes absolutely perfectly. So that's a good thing. And so where I haven't been able to fit them, I'm not drilling those holes. I'm using fiber optics because I want to keep the scale correct. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess with anything. Okay, so that's an awful lot. I'm going to get all these windows in. I'm going to get this lighting kit installed, and we'll have a look at that before we carry on. This is one of those, in my opinion, once-in-a-lifetime builds that really test your mettle. Because if you are going to light this and use all of the aftermarket parts, which is a very alluring thing, I have to tell you. You know, if you're someone like me, you're like, oh, shiny thing, yes, shiny thing. That's me. So victims of marketing end up with a challenge. Several things are going on. I have started to install the harness for the upper saucer. Okay, so here that is. It's two parts. It has the part that contains all of the tape, and that's down. And you can see that it connects to an umbilical cord. Let me show you that. That's right here. I don't know if I can get closer for you. Yeah, that's this right here. And that umbilical cord is going to allow the windows to be lit, and then everything else is here. So I have got my crystal, which will glow amber or blue, depending on whether we are in warp drive or not. I've also got here my my rear thrusters. Those are here, and so I've just got them sort of shoved down that hole for a second, the crystal hole. Now, there's a couple of things I want to share with you because I think it's really it's critical to do that. Last time we spoke, and I also talked about this. Well, I posted some photos. I was going to add and did add fiber optics to the ends of my yellow thruster lights. Now, I started to install that this morning and came up, I ran into a problem. Not so clever to do it this way, simply because difficult to, you can't, you know, if you're going to install it like this, you can't bloom your fiber optic. Meaning you can't take a little heat to the end of it to mushroom it out, which gives you a much more even and diffused light. That was problem number one. Problem number two is some of this fiber optic that I'm using is quite brittle. And so getting it to behave is not great. It's a bit of a challenge. And what I'm really concerned about is if I force it into submission with either my Cool Shot hot glue, you know, it doesn't have a high temperature, but you know, it does the trick, or a little bit of CA glue kicked off very quickly so it doesn't have a chance to damage or melt any of the fiber optics. I'm just worried that there's too much tension on that, and that just didn't feel right from an engineering perspective. So what I've done here is, let me see if I can get you a little closer. Yeah, here we go. What I've done here is I've removed the fiber optic casing from my yellow thruster light, and I've bloomed and installed two very small pieces of fiber optic here, and this one which is drying here at the top, which has been bloomed and installed, and I will cut that down accordingly. And then what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to then take my light, put it in here, and then once it's encased, and I'll add a little bit of perhaps metal foil or something in there to give that a little more of a punch. I should be fine, and I can do the same with my upper saucer. And because I'm doing that, I don't feel like, I think I'm going to accomplish everything I want to accomplish, and I won't have put all that stress on the harness. So that means that all these have to be cut off, removed, and I'm going to go around and bloom them and tape them, and that's what I'm doing now. The other thing is my red nav light. As I was bending it down to place it into its correct porthole, I snapped it. And I started freaking out because I wasn't sure. And this is because I am not strong on electrics. I'm learning, but I'm not strong on certain things. For instance, resistor ohm boards. Now I have my color boards, and I know how to add up the ohmage to get your correct resistance. I understand how to do all of that. However, I struggle with the color coding on these resistors. Now this is just an example. This isn't the one I used, but I have now it's it's an eyesight problem. If you know, it doesn't matter how many times I magnify this and I look, I'm going, is that a gray or is that a green? Is that a brown or is that a black? Now, I'm not colorblind, unlike my dear friend Wayne over at World of Wayne. he survives. I don't know if I could survive. He's a better man than me. I think I would just go fetal. But anyway, I struggle with it. So I had a situation where I tried to call Trek Modeler. The phone just rang and rang and rang. Now, this is not, I am not, I'm whining. I am not complaining. There's a very big difference between whining and complaining. This is whining. That I couldn't get him on the phone. I sent him an email, but in the meantime, I reached out to my dear friend Wayne over at World of Wayne, and I said, "Hey," I took a picture of the broken resistor, which is here. Here it is. Here it is. This is the one I snapped, and I took a picture of it. And I sent it to him. And I said, "What resistance is this so I can replace it? And do you think it's a flasher?" Because I know that, like, if you use Evans Design stuff, they've got pre-resisted LEDs that will actually flash. Very cool. But that's not what this system uses. Anyway, he kindly checked for me and said he thought it was a 200 resistor. I thought, fantastic. Well, I looked in my stash, and I don't have a 200. I've got a 180, and I've got a 220, but I don't have a 200. So I thought to myself, let's try a 180. Not go 180, try a 180. And, you know, I don't think I was, you know, I was worried that I would risk frying something, but I didn't. Anyway, got it in, and praise the ohmage gods. It's working. It's fine. Everything is fine. So I can continue. So that was panic train wreck number one this morning. Now, as I record this segment, we're about 15, 16 hours into this build, for those of you who are keeping score. But I feel pretty good about it. Now, the other thing I did was I've started to install my acrylic windows, okay? And they are awesome. So what I've done is I have installed them into, let's see here, let me show you. Yeah, I think this is the best way to do it. There. So I've installed an acrylic window here. Now don't panic, it's got masking tape on it. It's also got the Great Lou Dalmaso masks, and it's got a little bit of micro mask. Just to make sure that I don't do anything to the window. Now, the other windows, the other laser cut windows are in. Now, I don't know if you can see here, but there's a sort of brown look to them. And that is because the genius of these windows are that the laser cut pieces still have their protective film on them. So when you install them, you don't have to mask them. All you do is install them and then paint away, and then when you're ready, you can remove them. Now, I do know from consulting with the Great Lou that you can also clean these up, you know, these bulbs, anything that gets a little paint on it, we can clean up and don't worry about it. And I'm fine with that. But I just, you know, wherever I could, I'm trying very hard to keep everything clean and not damage anything, right? So that worked to charm. I've also installed in the front here the top laser cannons. These here are, I've ground down this raised section, and I've added 2 laser cannons, which are going to get a very, very hair thin microfiber optic, because I've got an emitting light that will just pulse a little bit from there in scale. So for your laser. So that's kind of cool. And everything is good, is pretty good to go. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do on this window. This window is not easy to install for all kinds of reasons. But I've got it in, and I've used some perfect putty on it, and it worked a charm. It smoothed it out and cleaned it up, and it looks pretty beautiful. So I think when I get a couple of coats of my Duplicolor on there, I should be okay. That should be fine. I don't think I'll have any issues there. But I will say, with these acrylic glass, it's crystal clear. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm very excited to put those into the Arboretum as well as the rec deck. And speaking of the rec deck, that window is in. Here it is. There. Let me see if I can get it in focus for you. Come on. Come on. It's struggling. Sorry about that. Well, all right, so we'll all kind of be nauseous for a second here. I can't get this in focus unless I back up. But anyway, here's the rec deck. Now you've got these, you've got these windows as they came with the kit, just these long strips. And then you've got, if you want to use the clear glass, they've got knobs on them, and you could paint those. You've also got the photo etch piece, which will lay on top of that. Now my crystal windows, my acrylic windows, my laser cut windows pop in there beautifully. So I'm going to put those in last. I don't have to put those in prior to painting. They'll slide in beautifully, and they don't interfere with the rec deck module, which is somewhere around here. Oh, it's I think I'm painting it. Yeah, it's being painted, so it's not here. Wow, lots going on. So anyway, it won't interfere with. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I didn't realize it was on the. Here that is. And so it's just got some primer on it at the moment. I haven't painted it, but it's ready to install, and it'll get some light. And I might have a little bit of photo etch for that screen back there, or maybe put something in there. I've got something for that screen, I think. So that's happy. And then the bridge. To glue in place or not to glue in place, that is the question. Now, I've primed it, and I've light blocked it. Okay? Light blocked, primed. And I've added just a little bit of fiber optic here for my strobe. And then in the rear here, I've got these windows are already open for a little bit of light that's going to pop through there. So that should be pretty good. I do have a little bit of, I've got a little gappage here. Do you see that I'm going to clean up? I'm just going to put a little putty over that to make that look a little smoother. But other than that, this is a thing of beauty. Now, what you've got to do, obviously, is you've got to find the correct, you've got to get your floodlights in, and you've got to find your correct sort of placement for it. And then that will, of course, hit the front of, create your, it creates your Raytheon effect, right? And I've got two very strong floodlights. What I wasn't sure about, and I do have a call into the Great Lou, but I've not I've not heard back. So probably he won't respond until he's had a sufficient amount of alcohol. But anyway, because I wasn't sure, should I paint this, make it, finish it, or should I install it and then blend it? I wasn't sure. My gut instinct is to set it in place, blend it in, and then go ahead and get it painted later. That's my instinct. And I will confirm that with him. But that will go there. And that's looking pretty good. So there is an awful lot going on. Now, while I'm continuing to sort of noodle away at it, the other issue would be that you've got to corral your light emitting crystal, which is what this is here. It's there. And that's going to change from amber to blue. And it's obviously going to need to live here, and I need some way to install it. So what I found this plastic cap. It's really good. Now, I know you can absolutely print something, but this worked beautifully, and it fits absolutely like a glove. So it's going to sit right here, like this, like that. It's nice and clean. It's an absolute perfect fit. I will attach my light to the top of that, and that takes care of that. It's light blocked, it's isolated, there shouldn't be any problems. So that is good to go. My rear engines here, they are that piece, which is here. This is my aftermarket piece. Has the lenses on it already, so there's no need for me to use the photo etch. So that's pretty cool. But what I am going to do is obviously get the rest of this painted, but it installs afterwards. You don't have to install it now. And so I'm happy with that. But I will make sure that I've got everything focused and where it needs to be. And then, of course, I've got to finish putting in my windows. And I will do that once all my lights are secure. And that should make this saucer pretty damn, I'm in pretty good shape. And then I can concentrate on the lower saucer, getting those lights in. And then this I can set aside for a little bit before I absolutely make the decision to seal it up. But I'm feeling pretty good about it. So that is that. The next segment in this part two, which will probably be the last segment, is just looking at how the lower saucer looks once I've got all the wires in, once I've got the harness in there, and that should complete part two, because that's going to be several hours from now. And I don't want these build journals to go on forever. This is not Gone with the Wind. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it. I've got my list of things I need to do to make sure that I don't make any mistakes here. I'm pretty excited about that. So there you go. We will plow on. Okay, I think this will be the final segment for part two, but a lot to debrief you on. It has been a day and a half since I recorded the previous segment, and I'm making some really positive advances. I had a few setbacks. We talked a little bit about that. I made a boo-boo on the top of the saucer's bundle from the lighting kit, and snapped one of my resistors, but we've got that sorted. And By the way, trekmodeler.com, first class. If you have an issue, you call them or email them, as I emailed them. They get right back to you. Happy to help you, happy to take care of everything. So if you're going to go for the bundle, it is, they service what they sell anyway, is what I'm saying. And I'm not paid to say that. Okay, so a couple of fun things before we sort of close. Some updates. I have been assembling my secondary hull, and I'm getting that. What I've done is I've put the sides and the belly together, and I've light blocked that, and then I've given it a couple of coats of white for reflection, as one does, and I've got all of the well, not all. I mean, I've put on the photo etch, right? So the Arboretum windows are in. They just need to be puttied. And there are 2 airlocks on the port and starboard side of the secondary hull, and I've put those in. So that is kind of where it needs to be. We'll attack lighting for that in the part 3 segment, I think, because there's a lot to do there. There's a lot to do everywhere, but to sort of remind us all what the ultimate goal is here, and that is to get this into 3 basic components: the secondary hull with the pylons, the saucer sealed top and bottom, and the nacelles. Those are the 3 segments, and then they will be primed and ready to paint. The only addition to that is after consulting with my my guru, the one and only Lou Del Maso. We consulted, and it's recommended that I'm going to paint and finish the AB deck bridge before I finally attach it to the kit. Now I think there's a lot to sort of put my head around there, because obviously I've got to get the lights in, the floodlights in, so that they hit the name and registry on the top, because that's my sort of Raytheon effect. I'm doing it practically. I'm not going to do it underneath the actual saucer plastic piece and leave that clear. I'm not going to do that. I'm going for a practical effect. So we've got that I'm working on. But a couple of things to show you. For the saucer, it's coming together quite well. Just to sort of update you on what I've done. I'm now, this is ready for a coat of primer now. So I will be doing that at some point. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do on my window. Now it's been masked and it's been puttied, and it looks pretty good. I'm going to hit it with a primer and then see where I am. Let me get you closer. Oops. There. So I'm going to hit that with a primer and see where I am and see what else it may or may not need. All my windows are in, as I said. If you missed the top of this update, you would have heard me talking about windows. But these are brilliant, little acrylic laser cut pieces, and they you don't need to mask them. I had a couple of fit issues, so I have installed the windows, as you can see here. I've installed the window pieces. They all went in quite well. Right here, I ran into some trouble here. Let's see here if I can get this. Yeah, right there. I had a major gap. So what I've done is I've taken some very thin plastic card, a couple of pieces of that, and rather than try to putty and sand that and ruin it, I filled it with card, and then I did a nice cleanup of that, and that is beautiful. It's you know, if it needs any more, if it does need any more of a cleanup, I will know that once I prime. But I didn't want to start puttying and ruining my my sensor bands. Now, you can see I've got a little bit of blue masket on my thrusters. I might have to do a little cleanup, but it's just so that I know where they are, to be honest with you, when I paint this. Here, and I've got one more piece right here that I'm cleaning up. I'll do that right now before I put in my photo etch piece here. And then that will complete the windows themselves. So that's pretty good. And what I'm hoping to do now is just sort of go through this and just see if anything needs a little bit of putty. But I'm going to use my my water-based putty, the Perfect plastic putty. I'm going to use that because I can rub it on easily and take it off with water, and it should be pretty good. I've added my laser guns to the front here. Here they are, and can you see I've put through some hair thin fiber optic, and I've got 2 LEDs that come with this package that are pretty cool. They have a laser emitter effect. It's an amber laser emitter effect if I want to fire those. So I've got top and bottom. I just did the 2. I'm not doing the others. I'm going to leave the others alone. But I've managed to do that, and I used my my Shapeways laser emitters plugins. Here they are. And they come on this little tree like this, and they've got holes in them. They're extraordinary, so they give you plenty of them. And so I drilled my holes, put those in, and then obviously I fed through my fiber optic. Now I've done that to the top and the bottom of the saucer. Flipping it over. Look at this mess. Actually, it's not a mess. I shouldn't say that. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. I mean, if my head doesn't hurt when I look at this, then no one else's head should hurt when they look at this. So I'm really happy with it. My thrusters are in. My nav lights are in. My rear strobe is in, and my front lights are in. The only thing I have to do is I have to now take this piece, which has the crystal for impulse and warp speed. This is the two-way LED. It goes blue and amber, and what that is going to do is it's going to live in my hole here at the rear of this is where that belongs. I created a piece of card for it, and I put it in a cap, which I have light blocked. And if you can see here, I mean, it just fits absolutely perfectly. So all I've got to do is just get that sealed, and that'll be all lined up. I can line up my crystal here at the bottom to get dead center, as I will, and that will look like that. So, and that fits in there absolutely perfectly. And then I've got masked off here so I don't get any paint on them when I prime them. My two rear engine thrusters that will go in here. Now the cover for this. I have used a 3D printed part. I'm not going to use the photo etch. I'm happy with this. These are going to obviously get some kind of a lens behind them, and then I need to paint the rest of this its correct color. But it is going to, if I show you here, it is going to actually just sit like this. I think it, there it goes like that. It's going to sit on the exterior of this piece like that. Now, I have got a little bit of gappage here. You can see the daylight here if I point to it right there. It is a little more squat than the piece that comes with the kit, this piece here. I thought for 30 seconds, maybe 15, that I would use this pace, but the details on it just are awful. They're not as detailed and as crisp, and so I want to go with the 3D part. It's that much. It's a lot nicer, but it's not. It's a little more. It's not as squat as these, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleaning up and sealing on those sides, but we'll get that done. I'm not going to worry about it. Now, I have to then also think of, I've got a piece that goes into my finished crystal emitter here, and it's already diffused. This is the piece that comes with your 3D printed part. Here it is, and that's the lens. And that's going to sit over, this. And that should be beautiful. So I'm very excited about that. And there's no more that I really have to do there. Now, if you are building along and you're lighting this, write stuff down. One of my dear subscribers thought that this was a shopping list from Mrs. Spruverse. It is not. It is a punch list for me to make sure that I've done everything I'm supposed to do before I move on. So I would recommend, at least what I do, for those of you like me who are challenged, and I'm challenged. Before you say goodnight or first thing in the morning before you start diving in, make a shopping list of things, a little punch list of things you need to do. And that way you won't forget anything, because trust me when I tell you, you're looking at the poster child for forget everything, especially when it comes to an intense build, because there's so many things you got to remember. But we will get there. Okay, so lots of progress on this. A little bit of puttying and cleanup to do, but the next time you see this, it's going to be primed and ready to go. So I'm pretty chuffed about that, very excited. And so this should be ready to paint. Now, the lower saucer is here, and I've to show you my my laser emitters. Can't speak English, but there you go. There they are. They've got the 3D printed laser emitters in them, and there's a little bit of fiber sticking through there. So those are going to be for my lasers. So that's pretty cool. I have got my my lights hanging out of the bottom here. There we go. For the sensor array at the bottom, and that is ready to go. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've got a couple of things that have happened here. Now I'm putting in boom, there they are. I'm putting in a little bit of fiber optic here. And that is for my thrusters, my yellow thrusters. And I'm okay, and I'm looking, and I've noticed that one or two have popped. They've popped out. So they've popped out of the little edges. So I've got to go through and clean that up. And I'll do that probably right now before I carry on. But other than that, the bottom is pretty simple. You've got your red and green nav lights. You've got your, these are your laser emitters. These pulse a very fast amber light, so that's cool. Those are that's your laser effect. And then the only other one is a strobe right there that is at the very front center of the ship, and that is in. And that is your bundle for the bottom. So basically everything is done for that. And so I've got a little bit of putty and cleaning up to do. I'll do some priming, and then we'll see what we've got. And then we should be dangerously close to having a saucer that is lit and primed and ready for a base coat. So that is the saucer. And I've got a little bit of more work to do it, but I you know, it's a nice large canvas, pretty easy to work with, so that's a good thing. Wanted to show you something really fun before we sign off on this part 2. You can also get from Trek Modeler. It doesn't come in the basic bundle. It's a separate part, which is his brand new chase lights for the rear of for your shuttle bay, your landing lights. What you get is you get this pre-wired card, and it's got all your chase lights on it. It is beautifully wired to an umbilical that then plugs into your landing gear board. And here that is. And like everything else, you'll see here that what you do is, quite cleverly, you're able to plug these in. Now, the way this is going to work is this unit is going to sit, behind, it's going to sit under and behind your bay. So it's going to sit something like that, right? And then your lights, they clip in like this. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do before we go is light this for you so that you can see this, because it's really cool. It's really cool. Let me just kill these overhead lights quickly, just to sort of dull it down just a little bit. And then through the magic of magic, I've got this ready to go. So let me just plug this in for you. And let me get you close up. Let me get the thing in here. And look at that. Isn't that awesome? That is awesome. I just could not be happier with that. That is going to add a level of detail to this build that is second to none. Now, again, this is a plug and play unit. And so I'm ready to go. I just, it comes with this lovely template. Well, of course, I've destroyed it now because I've drilled out the holes. But, oh, let me get my lights on. It comes with this template, which I shall show you. Came with this template. It shows you how to align it with your pins. And now I use the drill press. I don't know, if you have a drill press, I would highly recommend. Micromark makes a small one for a few $100s. Don't start throwing things at the screen. I know it's expensive. I know it's expensive. And I'm not bragging, and I'm not trying to be a jerk about these things. It's just, you know, I have a drill press. So what it does is it makes perfectly centered holes. Can you do this with a Dremel? Absolutely. But if you're like me, I can never get it perfectly straight. And you don't want these at an angle, because if they're at an angle of any kind, you cannot do that. Of course, you can't see that, but there, you cannot do that. You'll just struggle, and you don't want to struggle. So that is my landing bay unit, and I am absolutely, I couldn't be more happier with that. That is just really cool, really cool. And like I said, it's going to add a tremendous amount of detail to this. So when we come back for part 3, saucer will be primed and I'll be ready to show you that. We'll be wiring the secondary hull, looking at pylons and how the engineering of those causes some gappage, which we're going to have to deal with, and perhaps even look at the nacelles themselves, because as we all know, the actual warp drive chiller grills are of a purple nature. They're not black. So we're going to have to paint those. And I think I have a solution for that. And perhaps we'll look at that in part 3, maybe into part 4. But here we go. Oh, and also, you know, now that I've got this all ready to go, I'm going to install my photo etch into my shuttle bay, get that all finished and lit, because there's some other lighting that needs to go into here, and we'll look at how in God's name we're going to get this into the secondary hull, because there are issues with that, and I've seen guys who have said you've got to cut some of the support bars inside to actually slide it in. But don't forget, we've got the arboretum that's got to go in, then the shuttle bay goes in, and all of these electronics, the boards, and all of this cable has to go around it. My head is spinning just thinking about it, but you know what? We'll burn that bridge when we get there, and we'll figure it out. So there you go. Part 2 in the can. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. It means an awful lot to me. Drop me a line, spruverse@gmail.com, or leave a comment below. And also, you can follow my in the weeds, goofy day-by-day photos on my Instagram post, Spruverse, @Spruverse. So there it is. Everybody, please, we're going into Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has an awesome Thanksgiving. I wish everybody be well, be safe, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.